Hi, I'm Roger,
And I'm Adam.
and this is Roll or Die, a channel dedicated to all things tabletop gaming.
Today, we're going to take a look at Marvel Champions, the new LCG from Fantasy Flight Games. And if you haven't played one of these before, LCG stands for Living Card Game.
Yep.
The advantage to a living card game is you know what you're buying. These are fixed sets of cards. So you're not buying blind boosters or any kind of pack where you don't know what you're going. There's no collectible element to this. Mm-hmm. The nice thing is this lets you add on. You can add the sets you want. You can skip sets. You build out your collection and gives you more options to play.
Yeah. And we're here today to look at Marvel Champions. Marvel has released, this is an LCG from Marvel, so...
First one, this is the first use of the license from Fantasy Flight.
Yeah.
There's going to be more titles coming, I'm sure.
So I'm excited to get into this a little bit.
So let's take a look. We're going to show you a brief overview of how the game plays, and we're going to come back and share our final thoughts with you on it. Okay, we're going to show you a little bit of Marvel Champions here and what the hero side of the action looks like. Every player will pick a hero. Note that each card has two sides. One is the alter ego, the other side is the hero form. You will also get a dial counter with your hit points. For the example today, we're playing as Peter Parker Spider-Man. He'll start with 10 hit points. The card is nice as it actually shows you your hand size too. So if Peter Parker starts with a hand size of 6, which we're just going to lay out on the table for this demonstration, but in the game, this would be in your hand. It's a cooperative game, so you don't really have to keep it secret from anyone. We just want to show you sort of what this will look like here. I'll space things out and go over how we spend resources and buy these cards. You'll note that on the bottom of the cards are various resource icons. They don't much matter unless a resource or an action tells you it must be paid for with a specific resource. For instance, I don't see anything out here, but something might say it requires this energy symbol or this physical symbol or this science symbol. The way you buy cards in this game is you can see the cost here in the upper corner, and you have to pay that resource from your hand by discarding. Peter Parker gets an interesting cheat, as on his alter ego side, once per turn, he can generate a free science research, not having to spend anything from his hand. So if I was playing this game, I'd want to get out Aunt May. It's a healing support and one of Peter Parker, I think's key cards to play, as later on in the game, she could be exhausted, which means tapped, and she can heal him for 4 damage, which can be huge. So he'll go ahead and use this ability. Does not require him to exhaust or tap, as we say. And Aunt May would come out as a support. She's instantly able to be used. So if he had damage on him, let's say he was at 6, he's in his alter ego form. Aunt May has an alter ego action, so you could immediately use her, tap her, and bring him back to 10. I won't mess with the dial again, but he would be at full health. So you can still play more cards as Peter Parker. For instance, allies can be key in this game as they let you do additional attacks and additional thwarting of the enemy's scheme. So Peter Parker would want to get out his Black Cat ally. She costs 2. So to pay for this cost, he's got to discard cards from his hands to cover that. Let's just say he will discard Haymaker and Greater Responsibility. Black Cat would then come out as an ally in front of him. And she's able to do attacking and thwarting. You see these stats here. The reason I said that she's good is that there's a little damage icon here. So whenever she would thwart or attack, normally an ally would take a damage. Damage counter would go on her and she's only got 2 hit points. Black Cat has no such symbol under attack, meaning she can attack every turn, do 1 damage to a villain or a minion, and take no consequential damage, which is why he'd want to get her out early to keep using her throughout the game. His hand is now down to just these 2 cards. With this setup, Swinging Web Kick is great, as it does 8 damage, but that's more of an endgame closer card. He could bring out an upgrade, get these web shooters out, and spend this resource to do so, discarding this card, getting him the web shooters, which have their own 3 unique resource counters that go on it. These web shooters can be spent in his hero form to generate a resource form. Because what's key is he can flip over to Spider-Man. And let me just show you real quick why he can want to do that. The only thing he can do as Peter Parker is recover. He could exhaust and recover 3 hit points. But in this game, you want to be doing other stuff. You want to be attacking, thwarting, or defending. And those options are only available to him as Spider-Man. So once he's flipped, he could do any of these and tap. This would let him tap to get a resource to spend towards a card in his hand without discarding, and give him much the same benefit as the Peter Parker super ability we already saw. So it's always good to get something like that out early. In Marvel Champions, you want to balance what you're doing against the opponent, which we'll show you next. The opponent is the villain. This is a cooperative game. You need to both put damage on the villain to defeat him and make sure you're thwarting his scheme. So, by building out a board like this with extra pieces that help you, you're going to find a much better chance of success in dealing with whatever the villain might throw at you. So in the next quick segment, we will go over the villain and the scheme. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the villain side of things of Marvel Champions, and this is where most of the gameplay is going to take place. For this example, we're using the first villain from the core box. That's Rhino. Rhino is out, the level 1 version of him, with his starting scheme, which is the break-in. He also has 14 points of damage that he needs to take before he dies, and you'll see his starting hit points on the card, which is tracked on this double villain wheel here. For his scheme, it starts with no threat on it, but you can tell that it's going to gain 1 threat per turn. It gets added by these icons, and if it ever hits 7 per player, Rhino is 1. Now, for this example, we're just doing a single player game, so we'll show you how that works. The other thing here is I put the hero card in play, because what Rhino does on your turn depends if you're Peter Parker in the alter ego form or Spider-Man in the hero form. So we're going to start with Spider-Man. So when it turns time for the villain to take his action, it's going to depend on what form you're in. It'll go around the table, but this is just a single player example. Since I'm in my hero form, Rhino's going to attack me. I have to choose whether I want to defend or not, and then Rhino is going to reveal a boost card. What this card will do is add to his damage. So he starts with just a 2 attack. Flip, and you look for these boost symbols at the bottom. They're little triangles. There aren't any on this card or this one. Here we go. If that card had been pulled, it would have added 1, so it would do 3 damage to me. So you check for that boost, and then I would take that damage on my own wheel. If I was in my Peter Parker alter ego form, instead of attacking me, he's going to add to his scheme. He's going to be working on trying to take out his objective. He only schemes for 1. Again, you check. Look for the boost icon. There's none. So an additional threat would be added to his scheme. There's another key part to this game. The villain also uses this deck to commit treachery, and things will come out that add to the game. For example, 1 treachery card gets dealt to every player, it's revealed, and then you take care of it. This one means he would heal 4 damage. Let's look at a few other ones. Here's an upgrade. If he got his armored Rhino suit out, this makes you have to put 5 damage on this before he takes any more damage. So basically you have to kill the Rhino suit before you can damage him again. And again, to win this scenario, every scenario is a little bit different. To win this scenario, you have to defeat Rhino in 2 stages. Stage 1 has the 14 hit points, and then when that goes away, you'd fight him in stage 2, and he has 15 hit points per player. So he also gets a little tougher, his stats go up, his attack increases. So you have to beat both stages of Rhino. Now, there's other cards that can come out. Let me look here real quick. There's mercenaries and minions. So during the reveal, the encounter card phase, if I pull this minion out, the Hydra Mercenary, it gets attached to me. And it'll also go off during the villain phase, and it does a couple key things. For instance, this Hydra Mercenary has guard. So while this minion is attached to Spider-Man, Spider-Man cannot attack Rhino. He's got to deal with this minion first, who has 3 hit points. He will also do 1 attack to me during that phase. If I was in my alter ego form, this minion schemes. He's got 0, so he doesn't add anything to the main scheme, but modifiers could come out which would change that. It's key to keep in mind that only the villain gets the boost cards. So when this mercenary attacks, I don't boost his attack or reveal any cards, it just does the straight damage. The final kind of extra card we could see in here are additional schemes. Side schemes can come out during the encounter phase. And when this comes up, it would start with 2 per player of threat already on it, and that would have to be removed before the scheme can go away. This particular scheme has put citizens in danger, and we have to save them before we can deal with the main scheme again. So that's what that symbol reminds you of, is check that language and see what it does. We have to deal with crowd control before we can go back to the break-in. And that's what we have to prevent him from getting enough threat on there to win. So this villain phase combined with the hero phase, which actually we showed you earlier, is how Marvel Champions plays. It's a delicate go back and forth between attacking the boss, dealing with the scheme, and keeping yourself alive. I think all these work really well together, and we'll come back and we'll go over our final thoughts on this game. Alright, so you saw how you play Marvel Champions. Now we're going to give you our brief thoughts on it. So at Roll or Die, when we review a game, we want to look at a few essential parts of the game and kind of rack up our score. So we want to look at theme, components, ease of play, the decision space you have in any given turn, the replayability, the enjoyment, and after all that, we'll wrap everything up and give you our final thoughts. So Roger, when it comes to theme, our first review category, what do you think of this game?
So I really love the theme. You know, a lot of LCGs, my fear was, did they just slap the Marvel label on this, and does it really play thematically to the characters? And it really does. Very solid. When you play as Iron Man, you feel like you build and power just like Iron Man would. If you play as Spider-Man, you do things like acrobatic moves and double backflips and stuff to avoid damage just like Spider-Man does. So personally, I think the theme is really strong in this game.
Yeah, and I'll add on, when I first saw this premiered at Gen Con, I was worried it was just going to be a reskin of Arkham Horror, another popular LCG they had with investigators, because they were scenarios, there were locations. This is not Arkham Horror. It has a completely unique resource generation system, and the heroes are a lot more unique than the investigators. And you're not moving around all the different locations. You're sort of just choosing to attack the villain or go after schemes. That could change. There's more products coming, but for right now, it's definitely its own beast.
Yep.
And it's a lot of fun with each villain changing the whole game.
Yes, absolutely. How about components, Adam? If we're going to look at our second criteria when we review a board game, what do you think about the components of Marvel Champions?
So with an LCG, you're getting cards, you're getting tokens. These are all nicely colored. You can quickly tell what they are. They gave you these nice status cards for stunned or tough, and these dials for your hit points and a bigger one for the villains. It's everything I'd want for an LCG. I'm going to give it an extra bump up in how I review it, because for an LCG, this is the first time they've given us a full play set of cards. You do not have to buy multiple cores, which is not true in some
Very
of the
good.
other
Yes,
LCGs.
absolutely.
This will give you, there's 5 characters in here. It's She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel. They give you enough aspect decks, which is the flavor you add to it with the 4 aspects. Protection, aggression, justice, and leadership. So you can build out 4 full decks and play 4 players. You just can't build all 5 with one core box.
Right.
But with the hero packs that are coming out, each hero comes with a full aspect. So you can build from there.
Yep. And I think the components are above average. You know, we play with a lot of different games that, you know, these little tabs and stuff look like they would mess up pretty quickly. You know, FF, they do a great job of really kind of upping the game. It's an above average standard with the components. So, yep, thumbs up there, definitely.
Okay. So next up, let's look at the ease of play, or how complex the game is. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it at first seems like it's, wow, this is kind of complex to play, but within a turn or two, it's real easy to kind of pick up. You know, there's a lot of things you can do, but there's a cost for everything. Mm-hmm. So the ease of play, I would say it's pretty easy to pick up and play. And, you know, we've taught this to a handful of people already, and within a turn or two, they were, for the most part, fine. You know, every once in a while, you might have a character collecting cards when they shouldn't, but, you know, other than that, you know, I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, so they gave you a player reference card.
Yep.
It's double-sided, one for hero side, one for villain side, to track all the stages. I think that's done pretty well. We don't have as many confusing steps in there if you just follow along the flow chart. The thing I think trips up the most people at the beginning is just reading the cards.
Sure.
Some cards are hero actions, some cards are alter ego actions. And when you're flipping back and forth, you need to pay attention to what phase you're in of that hero. You also need to pay attention to sometimes villains have special things going on. So the text can be a lot, but once you get into this game and have played it a few times, it's going to feel pretty easy. It speeds up too. Once you get the hang of it, you can go through turns pretty quick.
Absolutely. You know, when you talk about complexity and long-term playing it over and over and over, I think, you know, outside of the combos with your allies that come into play, I think you're going to pretty much fall into a category where if you're playing aggression, you're going to play certain cards and certain combos on a regular basis. At least that's the way I play. I slip into a kind of a mode of how I play, and I don't really alter it that much, you know, in these co-op type games, because I know what works well with other players, other heroes. And so I don't know, you know, it's not super complex long term. It's kind of like a little bit of a challenge first turn or two to learn to play. Then once you have it, you can kind of a little bit of a challenge to find out how you're going to work the combos. But after that, you're going to pretty much lock in and just play.
Yeah. Now, with the complexity, there is deck building in this game.
Right.
In the core box, there's not a lot of deck building. You're sort of just playing with what they've determined is the pre-generated decks. They give you a list of what you should play. Once you start buying packs, you're getting more aspect cards, and you can build out that side of your deck. So your deck is fixed on the hero cards.
Yes.
You have to play those, but the rest of your deck you make up from your aspect and from your neutral cards. So going down the road as you have more cards, there's actually going to be deck building.
Yeah, and I would say, too, each enemy, bad guy, adds to the complexity of the game. And as we add new heroes, we're starting to hear things about Doctor Strange and different ones that maybe he'll play with a deck or two. We don't know, you know. So there's a lot of complexity they can add as they bring new heroes in to the game. So, but the initial core box, which we're kind of reviewing today, pretty straightforward, and I think you'll lock in pretty quickly on your heroes.
Okay. So let's talk about the decision space in this game. When you're in your turn, I think it's really fascinating, the resource system here, because you might have a card you really want to play, but you can't afford it right now.
Yes.
You know, like Swinging Web Kick for Spider-Man. It's a 3-cost, 8-damage card. Or I can discard it for a resource and get something else out. So early game is very different than late game. And as I'm sitting here, I have to figure out, how am I going to build out my hero? What supports do I want to get out? What allies do I want to attack? Do I need to worry about the threat? Is the villain going to overrun us? So I really like the decision space on your turn. There's no autoplay. I don't think you can turn your brain off and just do an optimal move.
Yep.
You always need to assess the situation, talk to your teammates. And out of all the LCGs I've played, I think this has one of the best decision spaces.
Well, and I was looking at Iron Man here because, like, he has a card that will do 8 damage if you can get the resources to pay for it. There's a Repulsor Blast where it does 5 damage, but you have to shuffle through, or it could do up to 5 damage, but you have to shuffle through your deck and get a certain, you know, symbol to pop up. And so there's some of that, you know, as far as decision space, you got to be thinking between, you know, but it's not like certain, maybe a worker placement game or something where you're thinking and really meditating. This is a kickback. You know, you can drink a soda or laugh and make jokes while you're. And I'll be honest with you, I get engaged about what the other heroes are doing.
Yes.
I don't want to check out and be like, okay, what am I doing? I like watching the effect of the game as the other heroes do their moves, you know.
And it's fun when someone has a super strong combo turn.
Yes.
Just watching all the fireworks go off if they're Captain Marvel and they have their giant blast set up.
Yeah.
And with Iron Man, let's talk about that briefly. He's this character that you have to build up. So your decision space early game is...
It's so thematic to the actual Iron Man. It brings you back to the first movie because, you know, when you're Iron Man, unless you have all your suit built, you're limited on the cards. If you only have, like, your boots and your gloves on, you're only drawing 3 cards.
As your hero form.
And so, but once you build out, you're drawing up to like 7 or 8 cards, and it can be really fun to throw out some combinations and tap all that equipment. And man, I've had a lot of fun playing Iron Man.
Okay, so then we're going to move on to replayability. This is a game designed to be a series. This isn't all-in-one done box.
Right.
Now, there's a lot to get out of this box. We've been playing this box since October and November.
Yeah.
I'm still happy whenever it hits the table. I'm very excited to get the new stuff, so I'm going to rate replayability here pretty high.
Yeah, I am as well too. I've played it maybe a dozen times with different groups of friends.
Mhm.
I played as different characters, and each time it's each different hero. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm gonna rate it pretty high as well too.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to get all the add-on packs. Like I said, we already have 3 of them. We have the Captain America, Miss Marvel, and Green Goblin scenario pack. And the nice thing is with those scenario packs with the villains, you actually get 2 new scenarios.
Right.
There's only 3 in this box. So Green Goblin brings your total up to 5. We're getting Wrecking Crew soon. You'll be up to 7 scenarios. And then before too long, we'll have a story box.
Yes, which will be exciting.
Which we don't know all the details yet.
Very exciting.
It sounds like a campaign.
Yeah.
Now, real quick on the villains in this box, we have Rhino, Claw, and Ultron. And they ascend in difficulty.
Yes.
So Rhino's the teaching villain.
Yeah, he's your meat cannon. He's your guy that you're just going to fire. He has a whole ton of health, but he doesn't do enough damage to just wipe you in one turn, so that you can learn to play your character.
Yeah, he's the perfect teaching character. And then we have Claw, who's the middle difficulty, or actually on expert mode, he might be the hardest. He messes with you a lot. He gives you a bad status card.
Yes.
He's messing with your hand size.
Yes. He's going to show you the penalty
Yes.
for getting, stunned or getting something happen to you. He helps you learn that part of the game.
And then Ultron,
Oh boy.
he's a swarm deck. He turns
Yes.
your own cards into his drones. He's going to overrun you. He's going to hit that scheme really fast.
Yes.
So he takes a ton of management.
Yep.
And you have to plan on how to handle all these drones.
Yeah, you have to know how to handle the cards these enemy drones are going to attach right to you, let alone try to kill him.
And with this replayability we're talking about, the decks are built with a standard villain deck. You add in 1 module, and then you follow their setup rules. So there's multiple modules in here that you can
Sure.
add on that add different flavors. There's a MODOK one that's hard, but each villain also comes with 2 difficulties. Easy and a standard, and then a harder mode. So
Right.
like I said, replayability through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. So, enjoyment. How'd you like this, Adam? I think I know already.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this game. I can't wait to play the newer content. We did not do a top 10 as we're just launching this channel in 2020. If we had done a top 10 2019 games, not only would this have been in my top 10, likely in my top 3.
Wow, that's high praise. I love the game as well, too. When I get to, I guess I can throw it in now instead of our final thoughts. I typically do not like LCGs. I don't like them because of the amount of effort you have to do to deck build and to buy resources, and every month you got to go out and buy new cards. Marvel did something, or Fantasy Flight did something really smart here. Even when they release new content, you get the whole pack. It's like you get the whole thing together. And so I didn't have to buy 2 boxes to play with my friends. 1 box and 4 of us could sit at the table and play. And so I am loving this LCG. The first one I really like, to be honest with you.
And you don't necessarily have to buy all the heroes. Each hero comes with a full deck. If
Yeah.
you want Thor but not Miss Marvel, there are some cards that come in Miss Marvel that you can put elsewhere.
Sure.
But I don't think you're as required to buy in and get everything.
Or maybe your buddy gets one, you get the other,
And you can split scenario packs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's wrap this up with our final thoughts. Adam, what are your final thoughts about Marvel Champions, the card game?
I think it's an excellent use of the license. I'm excited to see what else they do in this product line, as well as with the license. Are we going to get more board games, skirmish games?
Yeah.
We don't know. But I think this is the LCG to jump in on.
Absolutely.
If you like this format, instead of chasing cards, if this is a system you want to buy and play, I love the fact that you get the full play set of cards in here. You don't have to buy multiple copies. It's everything you need. And if the game isn't just for you, you can stop. You can sell this off right now pretty decently. It's been actually kind of hard to find in the friendly local gaming shops.
I think I agree with you 100%. I think the sky's the limit. I think there's so many directions they could go with this. I think it's going to have long legs. 2-3 years from now, people are going to be playing Marvel Champions, the card game. So I think that's going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you've been listening to Roll or Die. Adam, what else can we, have to look forward to?
So if you stay tuned to our channel, you're going to see your reviews, instant purchase videos where we say a game is of such good quality and price that you just need to buy it immediately. We'll do Kickstarter watches, and we will cover what we think are the gaming essentials, the vital games you must have in your collection.
And if you like our channel, help us out. Like and subscribe down below us there on YouTube, and let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts about Marvel Champions, the card game. So All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Roll or Die. We'll see you next time.